shall we have a little chat about all of the books that I bought, not bought, that I read and DNF during the month of July? In June, I had the most perfect, for me, reading month where I managed to read 10 books, which to me, that is an insane amount. But July, on the other hand, I kind of struggled, had a couple of DNFs, and honestly, if you watched my last video, you would have seen that on the last week of July, I had only read 2 books. Managed to up that number, but still. It's what always happens to me after a really good month. I always have like a bit of a struggle on the next one. Yeah, let's just chat and talk about all of my reads from the month of July. A July wrap up, if you will. The first book that I read, and was actually one of my absolute favorite books of the month of July, was When You Wish Upon a Star by Elizabeth Lim. It's part of my current obsession, which is fairy tale retellings. And on this one, we're getting a retelling of Pinocchio. Instead of following only Geppetto, we're actually following the Blue Fairy. The premise basically says, like, what if the Blue Fairy wasn't supposed to help Geppetto? And honestly, this book is like very bittersweet, and it gave me like a sort of nostalgia, and it did make me feel a bit sad, but in a very good way. It was just that sort of book that just tug on my heartstrings. As I mentioned, we're following the Blue Fairy, and we are seeing her life with her family and her 2 siblings. She has a brother and a sister, and they're really, really close. And for me, like, books about siblings and being close and all of that is just my absolute favorite. As I mentioned, they're very close and they're all human, but because of a couple of things, and because of the Blue Fairy's personality, she ends up getting this offer to become a fairy, a wishing fairy. And obviously, that does come with consequences, and that's basically what the story goes. So basically, most of the book, we're just seeing that, like, we're meeting her family and the consequences of her becoming a fairy and everything that happens afterwards. And that's what made me so sad, because we see this family, they're so beautiful, things happen, and I just love this book so, so much. I still think about it, and as I said, as a very bittersweet story. It's so worth it. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just, I'm gonna say this a lot, but it's just very beautiful. Yeah, it's definitely one of those books that not only I will be thinking about, but also will probably reread it. The next book I read, this one I didn't enjoy as much, and that was The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I should have known. I'm not her biggest fan. I read Fourth Wing. It was okay, but then I attempted to read Iron Flame, DNFed. I was in this mood to read army romance. Very niche, very specific, but that's the mood I was in. In June, I read Dear Aaron, and in July, I decided to give another Rebecca Yarros book a go and read The Last Letter. It started really well. I enjoyed the structure of the letters, but the romance, a man, you can write a man to be good, but like this man was too good. Like, just he wanted to make so many sacrifices, and he wanted to help the main character so badly that it just became too much. Like, come on, this, give him a flaw. Give him a real flaw, for the love of God. Couldn't even swear. He said damn a couple of times, and that was like the end of the world for the main character. Like, oh my God, you swore. Damn? Maybe I'm the problem. There was words out there. English is not my first language. I don't know. I just know that that was ridiculous. One of the reasons as well that I wanted to read this book is because it's supposed to have this really like sad bit, and it did. And it's the only reason why I'm not giving this like 2.75. I upped it to 3, which makes it an okay book. But honestly, I don't know. I just feel bad for the sad thing that happens in the end to just not give it at least a 3 to this book. But honestly, it started well, it just kept getting worse. It's an easy read though, and if you're in the mood to read an army romance, I wouldn't say don't read it. You might enjoy it. I just got frustrated with the two perfect men. Oh, my first DNF was Hungerstone, retelling of Carmilla. I read Carmilla a couple years ago and I did enjoy it. It's a very short book, quite interesting as far as like a vampire. Very good. But Hungerstone read incredibly similar to Carmilla, except that our main character has this secret, something her husband has done that she's not telling the audience, the reader. Was this in first person though? I can't remember. The thing is that there's a mystery. There's something that the main character knows about her husband, and she's worried because he's having a party at their house, but you don't know why. It's not a bad book. I think the narration style is good. Like the story it's probably good too. It just was moving too slowly for what I was looking for at that moment. I kind of got bored. I didn't want to know the secret enough to keep reading, and then the Carmilla bits were she was acting the same way that she acted in the original Carmilla book. Nothing wrong with that. Obviously, she shouldn't change that much. But yeah, I lost interest. I don't think I was in the right mindset to read it. So I might give this a go at another point because I don't think it's a bad book. But unfortunately, it wasn't what I needed. So I DNF'd it. Now to one of my favorite authors, Emily Henry. I finally read Happy Place, and my god, was I surprised. I was incredibly surprised. As I said, I've read most of Emily Henry's books, but until now, I have never given her a 5 stars because there was always some didn't make it absolutely perfect, even though I would reread all of them, no problem. But I don't know. There was that one thing, like the third act breakup, the way she does it, I never quite enjoy it. Happy Place, it's different. We are basically following a couple who were engaged and then they ended their engagement, but they haven't told their group of friends because they're a very tight knit group. They decide that on this trip they're gonna do it, but for many different reasons they don't. But what I enjoy about this book is because it's more focused on the friendship, on the group, and the things that are going on, and that felt quite real. When with adult friendship, it's not easy, is it? Especially if you met in school, because we all go do different things, and it's hard to keep that friendship. Life happens, and it's just sometimes it's difficult. And seeing the characters on this book go through that was very nice to see. It was kind of sad as well. I think I got a similar feeling to When You Wish Upon a Star, where my heart was just like aching, but in a good, bad way, if that makes any sense. I don't think it does. Yeah, I enjoyed it so much. You do get like dual timeline where with present past, so you learn more about the couple and their friends and everything about them, and then on the present their current problems. It's the first Emily Henry book where I didn't laugh that much. Something that I love so much about her books are how much they make me laugh. Happy Place, not so much, and somehow that got it 5 stars. The Odyssey. Like most people, I have watched the film, and I don't know if like most people, but I bloody love the film. But I have never read the Odyssey, so take that with a grain of salt. But again, I have never read the Odyssey book, and I haven't DNF'd there. It's just an ongoing project, so to say. It's not easy to read. I don't find myself like hooked by the story, and I keep obviously thinking of the film, which is not good because it's different. But yeah, I'm thinking it's probably a book that I'm gonna try to read a chapter every couple of days, something. Maybe in 10 years I'll finish it. I don't know. But that's my update and how it's going with the Odyssey. It's not enough, it's just a very long, ongoing read for me. 1984. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Have heard about it, but never knew exactly what it was about, apart from the fact that it was a dystopia. It was the most different book I've ever read. It's the most bleak, heavy book that I've ever read in my entire life. There was absolutely nothing beautiful about this. There was absolutely nothing enjoyable per se in this book. It just got all of the worst emotions out of me. I felt angry. I felt hopeless. And then the book ends, and I still feel all of those feelings. I don't know. What was this? What the hell was this? I wouldn't recommend this to just anyone. I think it's got, you have to know what you're getting yourself into, and perhaps if you're going, your goal is to read as many classics as possible, guess give it a go. Just pass it. Like there's so many other classics. Just it's just very dark, bleak, hopeless. Yeah. I don't know. I almost regret reading it. One that got me completely by surprise: A Wild Sheep Chase by Haruki Murakami. It started I bought this book from a charity shop because I read the first couple of paragraphs and I was completely hooked. It book starts quite funny, and then things change a bit, and then in the end you're just like, what the hell happened here? But in the best way possible. We're following a main character who we never learn his name, by the way, which that alone interesting. And he receives this call from his friend. Not his friend, his business partner. He's like, you have to meet up with this politician, this guy who works for a politician. He wants to speak with you. He goes to speak with this guy, and he's like, you know this newsletter that you published? Well, where did you get this photo? And it's a photo with a bunch of different sheep, but there's a specific one that this guy wants him to find. So our main character goes in this wild sheep chase to find this very specific sheep. And this book has some magical realism to it. I don't know if it helps you understand what's going on or it just makes it even funnier. But one of the things I love the most about this particular character is that he just goes with the flow. He's like, okay, now I have to find a sheep, whatever. And then he has this girlfriend and she's helping him. And some of the things she says, she does, she's just like, okay, I guess we'll go that there, we'll do that. And that's one of the things I love the most. And it's like that for most of the book, um, where you just like, what the hell's happening? Like, this is just bizarre. And then the end, it takes a bit of a darker turn, but it's so worth it. It's a bizarre, funny book, so worth reading. Would definitely recommend. Like it's just, and the writing style is so good. It just keeps you hooked. The chapter names are, some of them are just hilarious, and it gives you kind of, I don't even know how to describe them, but I love them. I love them, and it's divided in different parts. Just very easy read, funny, bizarre, and so worth it. Now for my other DNF, that was Phoebe Berman's Gonna Lose It. On this book, it's a new release, and we're following a 29-year-old who, in a month, is going to turn 30, and she's never been with someone before, and she's determined to finally do so. I was expecting it to be a bit more funny, but from the very little that I read, and I admit I read very little from it, It's just she didn't. I don't know. I didn't connect with the character. I didn't like her. She's just goes out with her friends, and then she makes this. She is like, oh yeah, I love lists. Why didn't I think of just making a list of things that I must do that will lead me to finally being with someone? It's just like you haven't done that ever. You go to therapy because you have terrible anxiety about being with men, and somehow now, just because you made a list, you're going to talk to a stranger out of nowhere. Really? That easy? That easy just because it's written on the list. It just that frustrated me so much that I could keep going, but then again, I had just read 1984 in a wild sheep chase, so perhaps my mindset wasn't the right one to go into this book. Just why I'm not saying it's a bad book, it just wasn't the right book for me at the moment. Perhaps in a while I'll decide to give it another go, but for the moment, just a list, really, a list. Then I did a reread of an autumnal book, Phoebe. But I just needed something fluffy, light to I knew I was going to enjoy. So I did reread Autumn in Sycamore Park, which is a book that actually has a very low rating, I believe. But it's just a light read. Not much happens. We're following a main character who used to work in corporate, like used to have a corporate job. Then she decided to change careers to become a primary school teacher. She was with this finance bro, and then they break things off, and she moves to a different village, and everything there is just beautiful, cozy, and she starts building a life for herself. It's a short book. The romance doesn't really happen until the very last page, not gonna lie. And I guess that's why it's got a low rating. Because if you go into it expecting romance, you're not going to find it. But if you're just looking for a light read where nothing much happens, but you get some descriptions of autumn and beautiful coziness, this is perfect. And one of my biggest pluses with this book is main interest, so to say, like the it's not an MMC, he's just the man in the book that our main character ends up interested in. It's called Tom, and from the moment I read that name, automatically I was thinking of Tom Hardy. Didn't even know how the book was going to go, but just having Tom Hardy in my mind whilst reading it makes the experience 1,000 times better. I'm not gonna lie. And the very last book that I read in July was The Long Walk by Stephen King. I have never read a Stephen King book before, and gosh, I'm glad I started with this one. I've always been a bit wary because when it comes to horror, gore, like films, for example, I can do gore and I just laugh throughout the whole film. True horror, I'm not that interested in, but not because I feel like I'm gonna be scared, which I might, who knows, just not my kind of genre. With books, I've only read one horror book, and that was middle grade. That was bloody scary. Like it had some points of the book, some parts where I was actually kind of scared. From that, I was like, "There's no way I can read an actual horror book. I'm going to be terrified." The Long Walk came to my feed, and I gave it a go. It's not a horror book per se, so that helps as it being my first Stephen King book. But it's some of the things that happen there kind of gory, which, as I said, I don't mind gore. But most of all, it was just a very beautiful book, regardless of the setting of it. We are following our main character who decides to join a competition in this very dystopian world. This competition basically, we get 100 boys from all over the US, and they have to just walk non-stop until there's only one person left standing, which means they walk during the day, during the night, whilst they're eating. And if they need to take a nature call, they have to do it without stopping, or at least not stopping much. They get 3 warnings, and after the 3 warnings, they get the ticket. Basically, they walk for a very long time until. What this kind of surprised me is that regardless of the situation they're in, a friendship group forms and they kind of help each other out even though they're there to compete against each other. The bond that is created between the boys in this competition is just one of the most beautiful bonds I've ever read about. And I was not expecting that. It, I still think about it, and it's definitely a book that I will be rereading in the future because, damn, that was beautiful. That was so beautiful. Obviously, the things that start happening to these boys, horrible, absolutely horrible. The end of the book, kind of strange. I just wasn't expecting it to be beautiful. But it was, and I'm so, so glad I read it. 100% recommend that to anyone that just likes to read books about friendship and bonds, beautiful, like strong bonds. Ignore the gory descriptions. Just be aware of that. If you ignore that somehow, um, it's it's just a beautiful book. So yeah, this is the end of my July wrap up. Those are all the 7 books that I've read during the month of July, as well as my 2 DNFs and my ongoing project of the Odyssey. Let me know what you read in July. What was your favorite book, or just recommend me one. I'm looking for more books. I find that August is such an in between month. August for me is like a Tuesday. It's just there to drive me insane because I just want it to be September already. I want to read autumnal books, I want to read witchy books, and I've been creating like this TBR of just that autumnal witchy books that I'm so looking forward to reading. Dark Academia, I'm so in the mood for that, especially with Deadbeat coming out in September. But here's August, just in my way. just just annoying me. Yeah, so if you have any recommendations of books I should read during August, please let me know. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you soon.